Hi everyone, this is Krista. Welcome back to my channel if you've been here before, and if not, welcome for the very first time to my little art corner here on YouTube. Today I am just playing around with some newer supplies. I do not have a disclaimer up because this is all stuff I have used before, and all the companies I am at least semi-familiar with at this point. Still not sponsored and still not affiliated with any of the companies mentioned in this video. I'm going to be playing around more with some newer watercolor things that I got in some recent subscription boxes. But for right now, literally all I am doing is doing the outline sketch on some smooth watercolor paper. I've been digging this watercolor paper as of late, as you guys have known from my other videos. I'm probably going to run through this 5x7 pad pretty darn quickly. And it is the Stonehenge Aqua Hot Press, the smooth paper, not the rough paper. And in case you can't figure it out right now, drawing a face. Woman's face specifically. And I'm just using a pretty normal mechanical pencil, I'm pretty sure with HB lead in it. Nothing too fancy there. As I previously said, I did want to play with some newer watercolor stuff that I've gotten in recent subscription boxes. And I had the idea of just doing kind of a half face in blue and then doing the rest in black and white. That is not actually how it ended up, because I cannot control myself with color, apparently. It has to be all the colors. But for right now, I am using the Ecoline liquid watercolor in a bright blue. I also end up using some watercolor pencils. As you can see, there's that black right there. And that is a Rembrandt Aquarelle Lyra watercolor pencil. And the other colors I pull in later are the Sketchbox brand ones. I wanted to get a chance to play with these a lot more, because I know with like a lot of subscription boxes, it's really easy to just use the supplies once, think you know what's going on or what you're doing, and then kind of abandon it for a really long period of time. I don't want to do that. I want to keep playing with the media, especially with watercolor, because it's something I'm not very familiar with. I'm still learning it as I go quite a bit. I also pull in some Faber-Castell Pitt markers in black with different tips, and I also end up using a white one later. With those watercolor pencils, for a lot of it, I'm applying it dry and then going over it with water, and then some of the liquid watercolor as well to help blend it out as I go. For this work, I was challenging myself to not go into colored pencil mode. The last so many times I have used these watercolor pencils, at some point my brain switches to it being a dry media, and I start going into this colored pencil mode where I use them as though they are just wax-based or oil-based colored pencils and not watercolor pencils. So for this, I was intentionally putting that restriction on myself to try to have it actually feel like a watercolor painting instead of a colored pencil drawing. Which occasionally is a good thing, to restrict yourself in certain ways when you are playing with different mediums. Sometimes just using a limited color palette can teach you a lot about the medium that you are actually using. And as you can see, I gradually pull in more pink and more purple as this goes on. It will not just be blue and then gray and black and white. I also got to pull in that Ecoline watercolor marker in gray, and I learned something this time using it that I did not realize the last time. It blends out watercolor pencils really, really well without having to add more water to it. It's really cool. And I would not have known that if I did not use these two things together. I am way too excited about that. Hello, art nerd in me. Also, I am impatient. Hairdryer is my friend. The hairdryer is my best friend when I am using acrylic paint or watercolor. I don't turn it on high heat. I usually keep it on cool because I don't want to start a fire. I do not recommend doing this with oils because oils need to cure. And heat near an oil painting can probably cause a fire. Just guessing. I haven't tested this theory, but I think it's a thing that can happen. Not gonna lie, she has some 5 o'clock shadow realness going on. Pulling in some of the other colors does help alleviate that a little bit. But this is just a friendly reminder that anything you work on will have some kind of ugly stage. And you have to work through the ugly stage to get to a better stage. It might not be a perfect stage, but it will usually be a more acceptable stage. And other times you just get so angry at it that you crumple it up and throw it away. Don't do that. If you get that frustrated, walk away for a couple hours or a couple days. Because usually when you get that angry and you destroy something, it wasn't as bad as you think it was. I start getting quite a bit looser with stuff for this one as I go. I wanted it to feel like watercolor, and when I think of watercolor, I think of imperfections and it being loose and it just going and doing what it wants. I don't think of super precise lines and whatnot. That's why I let some of that blue bleed into the hair. Let or allowed might be overstating it. I accepted that the blue went into the hair. I also end up dripping the blue watercolor down the actual painting. And by dripping, I mean using the dropper that came with this bottle of liquid watercolor, putting little spots on the paper, and then I pick up the paper and let it just drip down. That's real artwork right there. Doing drips and then pulling the color down into the hair. I'm still glazing. I'm still layering. I also pull in a pink watercolor pencil to add an extra transition stage near the white. So we go from blue to a light pink to a white. I actually remember to leave some white empty spots on the paper like a real watercolor artist. While using the hairdryer, I do still pat the paper because it's not a real experience unless you're touching the paper. No, I'm really just testing to see if the paint's still wet. And I can never tell just by looking at it. I have to actually physically touch it. And here I am doing some line work with a black Faber-Castell Pitts marker and using that watercolor marker to help blend it out. It works on that too. Isn't that super awesome since they're both water-based? Ah! I love that I can use this as a blending device. It's amazing. I kind of messed up in the one corner of the mouth, so I end up using some water to try to kind of glaze over it, blend it out, try to fix that little mistake. You can usually do that when it's still wet. You can kind of push it around a little bit and at least minimize the mistake. It doesn't completely get rid of it, but it helps. And I'm just drawing some really awful looking eyelashes for right now. They end up getting longer as I go. And just still adding in some black for more depth, more contrast, and just to crisp things up a little bit. I'm still using that black marker, just in different areas, for all the same reasons I just stated. Nothing new happening right now. Just black marker time. I go ham with color, and I apparently go pretty ham with black marker. Again, that watercolor marker is so awesome for softening stuff out and blending. It's amazing. I'm really happy I did this just to learn that part. And see, the 5 o'clock shadow isn't as bad. Ah, there's the drippage. Yeah, can't really see what I'm doing because the camera is pretty fixed, but you can kind of see the effects. And even though I remembered to leave some white spots on the paper, I still wanted to bring some white back into different areas. I was trying to use my water-based white Sharpie, and it just was not cooperating. So I switched over to the Faber-Castell white pit marker in order to do it better. This came in an Artsnacks box, I want to say in February, and it came with pastels. It did not work well with the pastels for pretty obvious reasons. It works really well with watercolor, when the watercolor is dry, obviously. I also pull in some Amsterdam acrylic ink in silver. I was originally going to do like a circle on the forehead or do the silver and highlights, and I kind of decided not to do that. And I wanted to experiment a little more. So what I did was I watered down the acrylic ink quite a bit to kind of give the whole painting a sheen. And it ends up being really glittery, and it's really pretty in person, but it's very difficult to see on camera. You'll see me like trying to show it because I'll move it back and forth quite a bit. You can kind of see it, and it is a little drippy and whatnot, but it's still, I liked the effect. It was a cool experiment. A lot of this was an experiment, and I learned a lot by doing that, and that's half the battle. I feel like with any project you do, you should learn at least one thing. And if you're not learning at least one thing, you're not doing it right. But this piece is almost done. I'm just adding some finishing touches. Thank you so much for watching this video and spending this time with me. If you have any questions, comments, feelings, or concerns, please leave them in the comment section down below. If you liked this video, please hit that like button. If you want to see more videos like this of me just kind of playing around with stuff, please subscribe to my channel. I usually post on Fridays in the afternoon. Once again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you have a great day or night, depending on when you happen to be watching. Bye! See you next time.